This here is a 2010 Ford Fusion. And we'll be doing a 20-point inspection, which is basically a general go over the car. And I noticed when I did this that it needed an oil change. So I did the oil change, and under the car, the oil thing is labeled oil pan. You take that off, and it's a 13 millimeter, and you just unscrew that. And the filter, you should be able to remove by hand. It also says it has a plastic covering that says oil filter, so you could take that off. Also, you should be able to unscrew the filter with your hand, but if you can't, you get yourself a good old oil filter wrench and remove that. I noticed that the car needed pads, front pads. So I took the tire off. I believe the lug nuts was 19 millimeters. And after I removed the lug nuts, I also noticed that the rotors was bad in the front. As you can see, it has them lines. Those are grooves in it. And what that causes is when you, actually I noticed it on the test drive also. When I was braking, the car was shaking a little bit. And that's what happens when you brake and your rotors is bad. You'll feel the car shaking when you brake. And if your tires need balance, it's when you drive it. When you hit like 50 or 60, your car starts shaking. So that's the difference between a bad rotor shake and a balanced tire shake. You're gonna need to remove. You can see the little bolt. I didn't label it, but that little nut in between the two lug studs, it's two of those. You need to take those off. And then after that, you bang your rotor off. You tap it. Since you're replacing it, you don't need a rubber mallet. You can bang it with like a mini sledge to loosen it off the spindle. Then you just take it off. We go to the caliper. You see I labeled that. Caliper bracket is 15 millimeters, and the caliper itself is 14 millimeters. If you just need to change your pads, then you can just remove the 14 millimeter bolts, just the one on the bottom actually, and then you can flip your caliper up like this, and as it's shown in this picture here. And once you get that up, you can pop your brakes out, your pads. You pop your bad pads out, and you put the new ones back in, and then you would squeeze the piston back in the caliper with a big channel lock pliers. That's what I always use, unless the piston needs to be screwed back in, as you'll see later in this video with the rear pads. We couldn't use the channel locks. We had to use the brake caliper piston tool. But since we was doing the rotors, we removed the pads and the rotors. I still just squeezed the piston in, and then I removed the back bolts also. And then it was just put it all back how it was found. Follow the same steps to put it back. It's not hard. Then I went to the rear, and the rear was just the pads. I didn't need to remove the rotors or change them. And it's these two bolts here. You see they're marked 14 millimeters. I removed those. And I also, if you need to change your rear rotors, you're going to need to remove those two 15 millimeter bolts that's marked. That's why I marked those for you guys. Your piston and your caliper, this is how it looks in the back. and back it off. Just the 2 bolts if you're not doing the rotors. With these type of pistons, they can't be squeezed back in, so you're going to need one of these right here. If you don't have it, you can rent one from any one of your stores. This is a little cheap one off online. And how you set it up is like this. You take the plate, you slide it down the little long, whatever that is, bolt. And then after that, you see how it slides down? It falls down to the bottom. And then the next step, you find your plate that matches with your piston. You see the piston have 4 grooves, 4 holes. This one has 4, so we'll put that on the bottom. And then this is how it should look when it's hooked up. And then from there, you just twist it. You'll twist your piston back in, going clockwise. And your piston will go back into the caliper. And with this brakes, if you notice, you see this little black thing sticking out and at the by the bracket, the middle of the brake, by the bracket. You see that little black, looks like a little pimple sticking out? Well, that's gonna cause you problems when you put in your piston, when you put in your caliper back on, because the piston, one of the 4 grooves, looks like a clover. One of the holes in the clover, it has to be lined up directly so it can slide right over there perfectly, so your bolts will go right back in. If not, you'll have hard time trying to put the caliper back on the bracket and put the bolts in. The piston will continuously turn, so you will never have no problem. It won't lock once you get it all the way back into the caliper. It'll keep turning, and the purpose for that to keep turning is for that it lines straight up over that little pimple, and that locks the caliper, that locks the piston in place over the brake. So when you apply the brakes, the piston just slides out. And that's basically all we had to do on this Ford Fusion. If you need any type of assistance in doing it, you can hit the Instagram page. It's the same name. And you'll see the same picture. Fair Price Technician. And just shoot me a DM and I'll do my best to answer and help you. Thanks again for watching the video. Subscribe if you like. And have a good day.